So it's been a while since we've looked at a Fujifilm GF lens, so we decided if we're going to look at another GF lens, it'd have to be pretty big. Literally. So today we've got the Fujifilm 250mm f4 and we're going to see what it's all about. So the Fujifilm GF 250mm f4 is equivalent to 200mm in full frame, and that's because the lens is a medium format design. This lens is great for anyone who's looking to do telephoto work such as portraiture, wildlife, as well as landscapes. So now let's talk about the design of the lens. So first off, you'll notice the lens is really big and you'll have to carry around a dedicated backpack for your camera and lens to basically take it around anywhere. In saying that as well, despite its size, it's actually quite comfortable to use. The focus ring has very good resistance to it, the aperture ring is quite clicky, and you've got 4 focus hold buttons around the lens, which is really ergonomically accessible no matter whether you're shooting portrait or landscape. In addition to that, the lens is quite heavy, so we definitely recommend not shooting this lens handheld very often and supporting it with a tripod. And speaking of tripods, the lens does have a removable tripod collar. It has a 1/4" screw at the bottom so you can mount it on basically any head. Our only gripe with it though is that the tripod collar does not have a Swiss compatible collar. So unlike other lenses on the market where the collar can be just mounted straight onto an Swiss system, the 250mm f4 cannot. And finally, on the side of the lens, you've got a few switches. The first being a focus limiter, the second being your optical image stabilization, and lastly, a new feature, a focus preset. So you can save your favorite focus distances, whether it be in autofocus lock or AF mode, and you can easily access them via the focus hold buttons on the lens. So now I'm just going to talk about the key features of the Fujifilm 250mm f4. So first off, it's constructed with 16 elements in 10 groups and has a minimum aperture of f32 and a max aperture of f4, giving you a large range of control in your depth of field. Secondly, it's got 1 super ED element and 2 extra low dispersion elements just to help with chromatic aberrations and color fringing. Using this outdoors, the lens is weather sealed and dust plus moisture resistant. In addition to that, it's also fluorine coated as well to help prevent fingerprint smudges as well as effects such as fog. And finally, it's got a linear autofocus motor on the inside for quiet and fast focusing. So now I'm just going to talk about the performance of the Fujifilm 250mm f4. So optically, the lens is brilliant. Where it gets let down is actually the GFX itself. So the autofocus system isn't quite the best in the GFX. It is slow, but it's understandable because it is a medium format camera. The 250mm f4 actually has a pretty decent linear motor autofocus system, which is quite fast comparatively to other GF lenses. Now, one of the coolest features about the 250mm in terms of autofocus is that it does have a linear autofocus motor, which keeps the same focus distance when you turn off the camera. So for people who like to sleep their camera and then turn it back on and shoot instantly, the lens actually holds that same focus distance. So when you turn back on your camera, it's going to be in the same spot that you last shot it at, and you can get away snapping instantly. Lastly, in terms of its continuous autofocus performance, is not great, but that's not the lens's fault, it is the GFX's. So maybe in future, when they upgrade the GFX to have a better continuous focusing system, then the 250mm will be even better than what it is now. So don't go out and shoot Formula 1 racing or any kind of high-paced action sports, because the camera will definitely not keep up. So just to counteract like the autofocus performance of the camera, the lens has come equipped with a lot of presetted autofocus options. As I mentioned earlier, on the side of the camera, you do have the switches to set a focus distance that you really like so that you can easily access them again. To accompany that, the 4 focus hold buttons are placed 90 degrees across the lens. So you've got 4 of them, which makes it really simple and easy for you to access your favorite focus distance really quickly. So as I mentioned earlier, the lens is gigantic, and yes, it is heavy, but to its credit, I thought it'd be heavier than what it was when I picked it up. but seriously, after an hour of use, my wrists are pretty dead. So get some kind of tripod to support you most of the time, or get some kind of strap for you to hang the camera off. So just to give your wrists a bit of a break, you don't get arthritis in about 2 hours after using the lens. Today's image samples were shot with the Fujifilm GF X50S and the Fujifilm 250mm. Images come out quite superb and they are tack sharp even when stopped down to f4. The images come out even sharper when you stop it down by one stop at f5.6. As you start to stop down, the edges do lose a bit of detail, however the sharpness throughout from the center of the frame is quite solid. With vignetting, there is a moderate amount in the corners, which can be easily corrected with a lens profile. Bokeh on the 250mm is great. Although you're not going to get amazing bokeh balls, it does have amazing effects of separation, and this is due to the lens's medium format nature and the effects of compression. Overall, the 250mm is a solid prime telephoto lens from Fujifilm. So my final thoughts on the Fujifilm GF 250mm f4. I absolutely love the 250mm f4. The performance optically is amazing, and I can really see this currently for this system being really good for portraiture, compressed landscapes, and still life photography. In saying that as well, the autofocus motor and the actual performance of the lens is pretty up there for a GF lens. And I feel that just shows you that the Fujifilm GF system has a lot of room to grow. So maybe in future, when the GFX bodies get a bit more advanced in that autofocus segment, you can see this lens being a staple out on the field as well. If you have any questions on the Fujifilm GF lens, pop them in the comments below. Make sure to follow us on our Facebook, Instagram, and our blog for full written reviews and the events that go on in our store. And as always, if you like our video, make sure to hit the like button and the subscribe button so you don't miss out on our future updates as we upload weekly.